I was born in New York City, New York, and it's no secret that us New Yorkers definitely have a list of things that we hold sacred. Gray's Papaya hot dogs, the way pizza's supposed to be, and of course, Madison Square Garden. And MSG has a long and great history when it comes to professional wrestling. But what's unique about the Garden is that its history is distinctly a WWE history. However, over the years, Madison Square Garden and World Wrestling Entertainment have sadly begun to drift apart. Which is a real shame because the venue has seen some of the greatest professional wrestling moments of all time. So let's take a trip down memory lane as we try to remind the WWE why MSG is the perfect home for wrestling. Because today, Dave knows Madison Square Garden. Now, as I said before, Madison Square Garden is most certainly the home of the World Wrestling Federation. Now, due to some holdover territorial rulings, WCW never got the chance to play MSG. And unfortunately, ECW never got to the point where they required such an expensive venue. Now, that combined with WWF going out of their way to secure their turf resulted in MSG being exclusive to the WWF. And as we're looking at Garden history, what's interesting is the physical building known as Madison Square Garden as it is today isn't actually the first building called Madison Square Garden. In fact, it's not even the second or third. The first one actually dates back to 1879 and was named after President James Madison. The building we have today was opened on February 11th, 1968. And while there was most certainly professional wrestling in buildings called Madison Square Garden, it was this particular garden that saw an exclusivity to World Wrestling Entertainment. Now, this all started during the original pro wrestling boom of the 1980s, March 31st, 1985 to be exact. The date of the original WrestleMania, which was hosted by Madison Square Garden. Now flash forward 3 years to August 29th, 1988, and Madison Square Garden will also have the distinct honor of hosting the very first SummerSlam of all time as well. And another 3 years at SummerSlam yet again, and the Garden will host one of my favorite matches of all time, Bret the Hitman Hart versus champion Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental title. And it also featured the on-air wedding of the Macho Man to Miss Elizabeth, which is the only wrestling wedding that ever should have happened. Then March 20th, 1994, WrestleMania 10. MSG got to see what the WWE credits as the first ever ladder match between Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental title. And the main event saw Bret the Hitman Hart taking the WWF Championship off of Yokozuna. And this is after Bret Hart already had an amazing match with Owen Hart, and Yokozuna also already had a match with Lex Luger. And then May 19th, 1996, the infamous curtain call, where the members of the Clique actually said goodbye to each other, breaking kayfabe in front of a live crowd. But later on that year, November 17th, this would be the first time that MSG ever hosted a Survivor Series. And the Survivor Series would also feature yet another one of my favorite matches of all time, Bret the Hitman Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. And while that Survivor Series was the first time Bret and Austin ever locked up, the next pay-per-view to happen in Madison Square Garden, which was SummerSlam, August 30th, 1998, would be the first time that Stone Cold Steve Austin would ever get to face off against The Undertaker. And finally, January 23rd in the year 2000 would be the first time that MSG ever got to host a Royal Rumble. And the winner, of course, was The Rock, and it also featured a tables match between the Dudleys and the Hardys, which was amazing. And then November 17th, 2002, Survivor Series yet again, but this time MSG would have the honor of hosting the first ever Elimination Chamber match. And then March 14th, 2004, WrestleMania 20, a night that saw The Undertaker finally return to the Dead Man gimmick, and Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero ending the night celebrating victorious. And then January 27th, 2008, the Royal Rumble yet again, where we got the surprise number 30 entrant of John Cena. And not only did John Cena win, but he was actually getting a pretty decent pop in the Garden, which is definitely a rare case for Big Fight John. And finally, November 20th, 2011, Survivor Series is day one of the era of Punk, as CM Punk took the title off of Alberto Del Rio and began his epically long 435-day long run as champion. And that was the last time there was a pay-per-view in the Garden, but I don't know about you, but I just can't take it. I need another one. Now, don't get me wrong, I was recently at a WWE live event at the Garden, but it's not the same. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, WrestleMania 30 was supposed to be in New York, but why the change of heart for the WWE? Well, truth be told, I can admit it, the Garden is actually a little bit dated, and the Garden most certainly wouldn't hold the amount of fans that a football stadium would. So I get it from a financial sense, but this only leaves one solution. We need a new Madison Square Garden. Yes, I know there's a huge lack of real estate and where are we gonna put this thing in New York, but I don't care. Madison Square Garden is the most famous arena in the world, at least so they say. It's time we finally treat it like it should be treated, and it should be the home of WrestleMania 40 and 50 and 100 or whatever. So I don't care, do what you gotta do, kick who you gotta kick out, but make sure that you build a brand new, bigger, better, and more amazing Madison Square Garden right in the heart of Manhattan, where it's supposed to be. And do it before WrestleMania 40 because I need that to happen. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments what some of your favorite wrestling venues are. And don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and this has been Dave Knows.